Sheet Saber. And yeah, coming off of a nice baseball slate, apparently a hockey slate too for Sheets. But me and Sheets there for a while. It was fun to both be top 10 and have a chance in the thing. We didn't quite get there with the Seattle, even in the extra innings. That was frustrating. We could have used that Suarez grand slam, and you could have won the tournament. I could have come in second. That would have been nice. He had a chance in the top of the 10th. But hey, great job, man. Tell us a little bit about your night, what you did, and then show us some of the lineups.
Oh yeah, wasn't prepared to show you. No, that's okay. I wasn't just prepared for it, but yeah, I mean, like we went through this, and my main pivot or whatever was to play Andrew Heaney, and dude, he in his first like 10 outs, they were all strikeouts or something like that. The guy's just freaking when he's going, he just literally mows him down.
Yeah.
So that got me a little different over there, and then the Texas guys came through, and then I was a little tilted because I didn't see the Angels news that Rendon was out. So I took a 0 in a tournament where I ended up getting 6th, which is you know what? Let me pull up some stuff. Hold on, I have this actually.
Yeah, that's good. It was a hell of a. I mean, I was looking at the lineup; they were really good, and exactly what we talked about on air.
Yeah. So this was kind of the tilt one. This was the batter's eye. This was with a freaking 0 with Heaney, but it didn't with Rendon, but it didn't really matter because the guy that was in first just really just crushed it at the end with the Dodgers. Yeah, so this was this was the one with the Angels with Texas, but then as you mentioned, I got like 10th in the whatchamacallit,
the big one.
Yeah, in the 888 with where is that?
Yeah,
right, I don't even think I had. Yeah, I did have Haney and Gowan in that one, yeah. And that again, like that kind of fills it out. Imagine scoring 11 runs with Texas and my leadoff guy having 2 fantasy points.
Right.
And not only that, but I played like the one off with Profar. He didn't do anything, and Teoscar with did nothing. And like you said, Suarez, I didn't even realize until you told me this morning he was up with the bases loaded.
Bases loaded in the 10th. He had a chance to get us there, and you would have. I would have loved to see you first and me second. I don't know if it would have ended up that way. Actually, wouldn't have quite.
No, this guy Dar, whatever, he really killed it with these.
Yeah, it was a double home runs by Muncy that caught up, but it looked like at the time that would have been good enough.
Yeah, but fortunately, again, like process over whatever. I mean, I knew what I wanted to do, and I did it, and you know, the guys didn't even smash all that much, but. Well enough for me to have a nice day. And then also in hockey, I got like 5th or 6th or whatever it was in the 333 over there. So yeah, so off to a good start this week. I was 7th actually in that one. And tonight I'm gonna put some stuff in, but I'm not gonna be around for live. I'm going to see Bruce tonight at the at Barclays Center.
That's awesome. You're already your winner there.
Yeah, always hoping he doesn't die of old age. It's always a risk. But supposedly he still goes for 3 full hours. He'll probably outlast me. We'll see how it goes. But
well, have fun with that. It's a great night. Congratulations on just like I really think. I mean, it's hard in baseball to have those runs. And you know, it's funny because you know we made up a pretty decent portion of the Texas ownership in the big one. We only played 1 entry each. Yep. By the way, another congrats. I always think it's nice you were the only non parentheses. I know they didn't show the parentheses for the one guy, but you're the only non parentheses that was up there. So just great job all around, and hopefully we can improve on it going forward. I feel a lot more. It's good to get the first like decent baseball slate out of your way. You know, at least I doubled my money last night. I've been just getting crushed, and I feel ready for it. It always takes me a few weeks in baseball to get going, and ready to start catching up with you and putting up some more top 10s and stuff.
I need a little help today. I mean, a lot of help.
Yeah.
Because for transition into tonight, finding it very difficult to find low-owned stuff tonight. So I mean, I'm going to come up with something, but like especially the pitching. I mean, I have a couple of ideas, but whatever. But and we'll get right to it, but. Remember yesterday we were talking about the Coors slate. I talked about it in the context of my sheets, which here's the plug, right? Are available for premium members on TrueDFS.com. That sometimes you have the road team in Colorado being such a great projection, and you have to just kind of figure out how you're going to pivot or how you're going to whether you're going to eat the ownership. But last night, as I mentioned, when I was looking at my numbers, they didn't even really look that great. You know what I mean? So I didn't have to worry about it too much. As opposed to today, where we're going to have a problem because they're going to project to be like such a freaking smash that you're going to have to really figure out whether you want to eat that, or if you're not going to eat it, how you're going to pivot off it. It's a little harder for me today to just say, oh, fade St. Louis, as it was for me yesterday.
Interesting. Okay, well, we'll get into it because I hear you there, and I think those are important things. And look, it's a 10-game slate. We actually have more games, so we're going to try and see if we can do the best we can. And I'll tell you what right off the bat here, we're going game by game. I understand that Manning has some talent. I've been anxious to see Toronto on a main slate with one of their home games. They have a monster total tonight, and I love trying to pick on Detroit because I think once you get past the starters, they're really bad, and I don't think you're going to get a lot of ownership on Toronto. So right off the bat, Toronto is probably going to be one of my favorite stacks. You have one of the most powerful offenses in baseball playing at home against Matt Manning and the terrible bullpen. And as I said, Matt Manning has some decent stuff at times. He's too streaky, and these guys they're going to make him pay. I also think Manoah is a very good pitching option. I would try to pair him with Toronto if you had to do it, because you're kind of betting on, you get the double-edged whatever there. So that's my big interest in this slate, right off the bat is this Detroit-Toronto game. So
the way I have this is, first of all, I have 4 kind of non-Cardinal, non-Coors pivots, right? And Toronto does happen to be one of them. So I agree with you there. Here's the thing with Manoah. The way the slate is structured tonight, there are 2 really, really super spend ups, and there are 2 just super values in this range, and one of them is Manoah. Okay, so the question is going to be literally how you construct. Whether you want, and you could pay up for both top pitchers like really easily, or you could pay up for one of the top pitchers with Manoah, or you could play Manoah with the other mid-range pitcher or whatever it is. But Manoah certainly projects to be a very, very strong play. Couple of things. Number one, he I think his win odds are probably like through the roof, right, so to speak. But he doesn't really put up. I mean, he does from time to time, but he's not like the guy that's going to strike out like 11 guys. So he's kind of a cashy play, I guess. That's my take. Mm-hmm. But certainly it's like a tremendous play, and we have seen him put up ceilings. And the only other thing that kind of bothers me is that, and I'm just really playing devil's advocate because it's really kind of a smash play, is that Toronto, as I mentioned, as we talked about before, I mean, they made some change to their ballpark, making it even, very, very hitter friendly. So it's kind of, I mean, look, not to say Manoah is going to get shelled because of that. Obviously, Detroit's not very good. But I mean, that could be a reason. If Manoah were, say, going to be 60% owned, which he won't, but if he were, then I could make a case against it. But it's kind of giving like the here's and there. So I do like Toronto, and I do like Manoah, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. All right, moving on to San Diego and the Mets. I'm just going to double check the weather on all these things as I go along.
It's like 100 degrees here in New York.
What is going on with your guys' weather changes? One day it's 40, the next day it's 100.
It's going to be like 73 tonight. It's going to be 70 today. It's going to be like 80 tomorrow. Like
that's nuts. Yeah, but I mean, it's 70 degrees, 14-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right center. I think you have yourself another option here in terms of places you could go that are different, not named Coors. I think the Mets are completely reasonable here. I don't know where I stand on Ryan Weathers, so that makes it open for me. I also think with the walk rate that David Peterson shows sometimes, I mean, he struggles sometimes with control. First of all, he's probably like borderline in play, but I don't think I'm going to go there. But I think that you could make a good argument for both sides of this, and you're just going to have no ownership on San Diego. When you tell me San Diego against the lefty has no ownership with Machado and Nelson Cruz, and those are the main ones. But you got even the Soto's very good against lefties. Bogart's also in there. Like, I just feel like this is a game I could see getting both pieces of it. And like you let off with the key thing that it seems harder to get away. I think this is a perfect game you could target to try to get, I think that I prefer the Mets, but I'm totally happy to take a shot with San Diego as well. Both teams with good bullpens and good all around, so maybe not a full stack, but maybe. And these are pivots off of cores that I think are extremely viable.
Yeah, these two exact teams are the ones that literally just missed my top pivots. I'm staring at my little piece of paper here, and San Diego / Mets would be the next two teams that would sneak into the main pivot. So I'm with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You did mention. I mean, the bullpens are reasonable. So listen, when you're fighting the Coors with St. Louis and all the stuff, I mean, you're going to have to put up some numbers, I think. Right. So I don't know. Like you said,
it out to that 8-0 lead or something, and then you don't get to have the same bullpen,
Right.
Sorry.
So like I said, I don't know if I could do a 5-man, which is probably going to get me off of these guys at the end of the day. But I have them literally right on the outside looking in, which to me is probably good enough to put them in contention. And I don't like either of the pitchers.
Yep. Yeah. So I think these are really reasonable ones. Why don't you start off with Atlanta and Cincinnati?
Yeah. So this is one of the other pivots. So I had 4, as I mentioned. Toronto is one of them. One I think is going to end up being a little chalkier, but we'll get to that. But I definitely like Atlanta here. I don't see them garnering much ownership tonight, and I'll just kind of keep playing. That's kind of the way it is. And it'll be the usual guys. And I know that Sessa, I mean, he's pretty decent, I suppose, whatever. But good luck. I'll take my chances. So I like Atlanta as one of my anti-Coors pivots, and I don't like either. I wouldn't get to Wright here though.
So I like Wright as a pitcher, and I think this is a spot I would definitely be playing him, if not for I'm a little concerned coming off of an immediate DL to start the season. Right. And I think he actually does end up as the other pitcher who gets owned a little bit. He's got good enough stuff to where he can actually outscore the other guys. And it's Cincinnati, who, you have a bunch of hit and misses in their lineup. They just don't have a strong lineup at all. And even the guys who can hit, they're just sandwiched by horrible guys on every side. So, yes, Atlanta, as a stack, yes. Kyle Wright probably going to be on the outside looking in for my pitchers. But look, man, we mentioned it, and it's not always going to work. But I'm going to play. If I'm playing 10 lineups, Atlanta will be one of them every day. It's just I'm never going to have less than 10% of Atlanta in the matchups even somewhat reasonable. It would take a really weird slate for me to do so. All right, you ready to move on to Seattle and Chicago?
I am, and this is
the other spot, right?
This is an issue, right? Okay, so first of all, always off to a slow start in Survivor.
Man, we got to battle at Survivor every week.
Huh? Every week, and this is a tough game because you have Wrigley Wind, and Wrigley Wind is rough business, So Wrigley Wind blowing out. That's the least what I heard going into today. We have to follow up on it, but you get the wind blowing out. Seattle, we liked them yesterday. Give me some wind blowing out. That's fine too. This guy's apparently pretty good. It was Ensky, but it's kind of hard to fight the wind and flexing. I mean, you don't want to worry about your Survivor stuff. This is the worst possible guy to have, I think, in this situation.
Yeah, you don't feel comfortable with it at all.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't mind people hitting the ball in the air, and this is the wrong time to have people hitting the ball in the air. So,
right.
It depends how ownership comes in on this. I originally actually wrote, God help me, but the Cubs as kind of what I thought would be kind of a low-owned pivot. But if this win continues to be a thing, they're all going to get played, from Seattle to Chicago to all of them. So I don't know how sneaky that's going to end up being. But that's kind of where I am for now. Is I have the Cubs written down first. The only reason I didn't come to Seattle was I saw them with some ownership going into today. I actually had them as a second highest owned team behind St. Louis. So
I've got three. I mean, so even on your projections, you have 4 guys that just cracking the 10% barrier, which is good enough for me. Again, on when we're going to have concentrated chalk, maybe Atlanta, San Diego, which are all harder to get in, the Toronto and the Mets because they're so expensive. It's going to be hard to get all those guys in. Seattle is going to offer some value at certain positions, but just a reminder from last night and a guy who played a bunch of them, when 3 of your guys are not playing on platoons later in the game, it's always a little frustrating. You know what I mean? So even when that game went to extras with Seattle, I couldn't really get there unless I had literally just Suarez left. So just keep that in mind with Seattle. A lot of these guys could turn into other guys by the end of the night if they change the handedness of the pitcher and whatnot. It's just something to keep in mind. But I actually prefer the Cubs, and I like Seattle. I think that the Cubs, as a really cheap complimentary stack at no ownership, like, look, maybe I'm Dodger biased here, but you've got Cody Bellinger at 3,400 cleanup and against Flexen. I'll take that. Edwin Rios, I know that he might be at the bottom of the order, but Edwin Rios has immense, ridiculous power. Not that he needs it today, but a fly ball could be good for him. Mancini, Eric Hosmer, who will get a boost from that win in general. And then you could play the actual guys, Wisdom, Happen, Swanson. So suddenly a lineup that I thought that looks like garbage to me most of the time actually looks pretty good, and it's all because of the matchup and the wind traveling out. So I think so far it's funny right off the bat. I've got 4 stacks that I'm very, very happy rolling with, and I'm gonna have to actually whittle down because we're gonna talk about a bunch of stacks that I don't like, and we're gonna talk about the chalky one that's a little harder to get away from, as you mentioned today. What are we doing with Minnesota and Chicago? Because I feel like Lance Lynn certainly looked awful his last start out. I don't know what we're getting from him going forward. I'm just up in the air with him in general as a pitcher. I thought he looked good his first start. Pablo Lopez, I think, is way too cheap and probably will become my favorite non-Manoah pitcher, non-Manoah DeGrom pitcher.
Well, this is the thing, so that's what I talked about earlier is you have 2 great spend nuts we're getting to very shortly, and these 2 mid-rangers or cheapo. I mean, like Manoah and Lopez are just like incredible prices here, and the question is do you need them? Maybe. So do you have to choose between Manoah and Lopez? You can play last with both of them. I think that you're probably going to either want to play the 2 spend ups together. There's one pivot we might get to, or probably one of these 2 guys between Manoah and Lopez will end up being in kind of like that, traditional like SP1 and SP2 mode. So Lopez is doing great. The White Sox are they're putting out some kind of weird lineups.
I mean, the White Sox have looked pretty garbage.
As like Robert was out on Sunday, and I think that Anderson, either he was out or he's listed as day to day. I mean, you might get Lopez against kind of a bad lineup. So it's really, really strong. We gotta have to watch the ownership.
Well, not to mention, the White Sox were the worst team in baseball against right-handed pitching last year, and their lineup is worse.
Yeah. So I think that they're a very, very good play. That he's a very good play. The Lance Lynn thing, I mean, I'm not doing that. If anything, like I would probably take a shot on Minnesota, except they're missing guys too. They're missing. I think they're missing. Were they missing Kepler? Yeah, Kepler's on the 10-day DL, and he's a guy I like to play against righties.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm going to do that, but I'm not going near Lance. So for me, it'll be Lopez. He's definitely in a huge part of the player pool, if not number 1 or 2 pitcher, depending on how I want to construct. And that's probably all I'm going to do from this game.
Yeah, if you look at it just from who's playing for Minnesota is the only reason why I think Lance Lynn, because not only that, you have Correa is going to play. I thought Correa was not going to play today. But I like these young guys like Larnach and Miranda and Gordon just fine. I feel like they're 7, 8, 9 hitters. Maybe not Miranda. He's a good hitter. But I don't feel like that being in the middle of your order, it's certainly at least okay to consider Lance Lynn. The thing that threw me off was that if Lance Lynn is the same amount owned as Pablo Lopez, I don't know if I'd play Lance Lynn over Pablo Lopez at the same price.
Never.
much less at 1,700 more.
Yeah.
So while Lynn is going to stay on my list and I might mix him into a lineup, it's certainly not a priority. I do think Lopez is a priority, and I think he and Manoah are very, very close. And when I say priority, I'm probably going to end up with 4 priority pitchers on this slate. You probably know the other 2 already.
Yep.
Well, there's a pretty good guy in this next game we've got.
Yeah, there is. And that's Jordan Lyles. He's really, really good. Oh, the other guy. Right. I forgot about that. Yeah. So, I mean, DeGrom should be 12,000 with 100 pitches in the quiver, maybe. So he's probably the cheapest of them all here, if you want to know the truth. So he's going to be the most popular. He's going to be the big priority, and it's going to be 50% owned, maybe more in the big buy-in. I think. I know these guys are cheap, like the Manoas and the Lopez and stuff, but I think that the DeGrom, you could just play him like so easily. Even if you don't want to play him with Ohtani, for example, I mean you'll play him with one of these other two that are on my sheet right here, like Manoah and Lopez, and you're just kind of off to the races.
I don't think there's a whole lot of question that DeGrom ends up 70% owned in the big buy-in.
Okay, so maybe even 70. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, realistically, give me one lineup and put a gun to my head, I'm probably playing him. You know what I mean? It makes enough sense.
So on the other hand, though, I mean, like Texas again is going to be in play, and the same guys as before. You just play Corey Seager every day until he wins the MVP, right? Mm-hmm. Lowe again, Simeon again, Garcia's got righty. I want to get kind of a cheap Josh Jung, so I'll play him too.
If he plays,
obviously.
Well, no, I'm just throwing it out there because that's what I meant about the platooning thing. Like they have other options they can use. Like even Brad Miller came in late. Like although that was because
but like you said, I mean, you talk about this when you talk about like the Dodgers sometimes. Like if they in fact start Jung like righty v righty, then we know he's good. You know, it's like
I agreed with that 100%. Some guys I wouldn't agree with that on, but most guys I would agree with that on. Yes.
Yeah. So that's right. I think Texas is going to be solid. I have them really just on the outside looking in, but for no other reason. You know, that like maybe others a little better, but not. I really have no. This is why I need help with this slate. I can't find a reason not to play Texas again. Same thing. So Texas, DeGrom, and Texas together seem reasonable to me.
I'm in. I'm definitely in on Texas. I have Seager again as a priority for sure. And I wish there was some more like other power. It's kind of weird that Jankowski had I think the biggest game of any of them, and he's not even going to play tonight. We'll see about that one. I wait till we see the lineup come out because they have some cheap options you can mix in. But I just want to just giving that little warning that the three guys came out last night of the game, partly because they were ahead, and only two did. But they will platoon some of those guys. You'll see some Jankowski instead of Josh Smith or Bubba Thompson. You know, it's just up in the air a little bit. But I like Texas. I have them a little bit below the other teams, and it's weird because no matter what, I always want to have a priority of stacking against Jordan Lyles.
Hang on.
All right, as she says that, I'll keep talking.
Hey, I'm recording.
So right now, like I think I have Texas as my fourth favorite stack, but maybe they end up squeaking it up a little bit higher just because of my hatred for Jordan Lyles as a pitcher. All right, St. Louis. And by the way, this is every time I say about pitcher, and then when I decide to play him later in the year, people are going to freak out. There is going to be a time where I play him later in the year. So why? Okay, Sheets. I understand it's a lefty. Why do you find St. Louis so much harder to fade today? Is that the reason?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
No, that makes sense. I'm not criticizing. I'm just asking.
I mean, I just know they project like way too high, and Mikolas is just gonna throw his junk and get buried. I think. I don't know. That's not. I'm sorry. Whatchamacallit. The good thing is that it is Freeland, I guess. Because Freeland does manage Colorado a little bit. I don't know. I'm just having trouble getting off of this game. I'm going to do it just because you can't play DeGrom with the Cardinals. You just can't do it. You can't even play DeGrom. You can't even play. I mean, I guess you could play Lopez and Manoah together, but I think that's even too chalky. You know what I mean, St. Louis is going to be so freaking chalky that you just going to have to try to do something else. I'm just kind of hoping I forget to play, which I won't.
I want to throw out real quickly that Kyle Freeland has been the chalk guy to stack against twice this year, and he has given up a grand total of 0 runs.
I'm aware.
It's just one of those things. And by the way, different slate, we'd be talking about Mikolas here. 6,600 is just getting a little bit. No. I'm serious. We should be considering it. this course thing, let's not go completely nuts every day. It is getting warmer, so it's making it harder. But for what it's worth against Freeland, 12-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from left. Okay, maybe it negates some of the righty power. Just throwing out ideas here because I don't feel like I want to play when I have all these stacks I like. I don't think there's any way I end up with a full St. Louis stack.
No chance.
but a 3-man of either Edmund, I guess Carlson or Edmund with Goldschmidt and Arenado or Contreras. I can certainly see, Tyler O'Neill. I can certainly see a 3-man stack, but I just am not going to stack the chalkiest team on this slate against a pitcher who I believe is a little bit underrated. So just not going to happen. What's interesting is that I don't want to play. I'm not going to play Mikolas, and I don't really want to play the Rockies, but neither will anyone else. So as we sort of said yesterday, the Rockies with no ownership, maybe the lefties, especially because it negates that win for any power upside. Like they don't have to worry about it as much. So maybe playing like a Profar, Blackman, McMahon, something like that, I could talk myself into. But I am actually going to be lower on this game, with the exception of, I was grabbing up Kyle Freeland's information real quick because he has a little bit of history with a couple of these guys, and I just want to make sure I got it right. Not that it matters so much, but I do take that to mean a little bit of something. Let's just see real quick. It's less history than I thought. Yeah, 25 at bats. He's actually been really good against Goldschmidt, which is the most one I was sort of wondering about. But yeah, I would just look at St. Louis as a complementary stack with my bigger stacks, especially in larger field tournaments. I just don't think I can get away with playing 30% owned stacks against. Look again against a pitcher who we believe in real life to be actually better than we think. Put him on the Dodgers. Let's see how maybe he does what Tyler Anderson did last year, and has a 3 ERA and wins 17 games. He just is playing for the wrong team in the wrong place. He can't strike anybody out, but he's still good. Anyway, we'll move on to the other one. Are we sure that Ohtani is going to be this? Like, I'm confused about the ownerships on him, and I think it's mostly SaberSim who's doing it. There's no way he ends up 5% owned.
No.
He ends up 20 some odd percent owned, right?
You're going to play these two together. I mean, like,
yeah.
I listen, you're either going to play, people are either going to play DeGrom and Ohtani together, or DeGrom with Manoah, or DeGrom with Lopez. All right, that'll take about 80% of the lineups. Okay, something like that. The Ohtani will be significantly lower owned than DeGrom. Okay, because he's they're about the same price, and DeGrom is DeGrom. Okay, so maybe if you get a pairing of like Ohtani with Lopez somehow, and just listen, and just hope. Right? Listen, all you need, you do that, then you have to hope that Ohtani outscores DeGrom, which he could, and that the money you save, matters. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The money you save, then you need Trout or Acuna or somebody like that to smash. But I think it's reasonable. I don't know. But so Ohtani, listen, he's got a great matchup. He has a lot of upside and all that stuff. And there's no 5% on Ohtani. He's going to be, I'd say, at least 20. I don't know. And as far as the hitting goes, so if you feel like it, if you feel like you need to do it, I have no problem with Josiah Gray at 62.
Totally same page here.
Yeah, literally no problem. I had no problem playing him in Coors. Right, so believe me, I'm going to have no problem playing him against the Angels.
That's very true. And for what it's worth, the Angels, I agree with the Josiah Gray thing. Just the flip side is the Angels have a ridiculously high run total, and Gray can get wild.
Yeah, of course.
And the problem is with stacking him is we don't know what the health of Rendon is, and you can't play Ohtani. It makes it a lot less of an attractive stack, but it's going to do that for everyone else too. So the Angels would be a next tier down stack for me, and Josiah Gray would be the, hey, if I feel frisky in the 150, he's the guy I want to.
He's got to outscore both Manoah and Lopez.
He doesn't have to outscore them because he differentiates your lineup. He could actually score 5 points less than them and be okay.
But like you said, but again, if you then you're going to need some high price guys, right, to smash.
Yeah, and to answer Travis's question, the answer is no one. There's no reason to try to get hitters against the best pitcher. It just doesn't make sense. People want to do this all the time on big slates. Like there are some slates where you can definitely do it. And Scherzer's more the guy you want to do it to than DeGrom because he gives up so many home runs, or Verlander, who gives up a ton of home runs, although not that many hits. I don't know that I mean, look, if you had to play anybody against him, it'd be Bobby Witt. I don't think anyone is like an optimal play against him. And even if they get there, remember, they have to get there better than everybody else in their position. You know, like it's not like, so one home run may not even be good enough for these guys. And I think it's just really important to think of it that way. You're not just asking for one action. You're asking for multiple actions on these kind of slates because it's a big slate with a lot of offense. Pretty decent hitting weather, by the way, today across the board. You know, not terrible in Anaheim. And I might have to revisit whether I want to do anything with either Gray or with the Angels. Both of them I'm open to, but probably not going to do. All right. And by the way, this is the guy who maybe could have, although he's off to such a horrendous start, I don't think people are going to play him at all. And
let me rant about this. Okay. So I talked about this last time. All right. So I remembered, probably incorrectly, that last season, we talked about this before his last start, that he got off to a miserable start, got shelled, and then didn't give a run for the rest of the season. And so I was considering playing the Mets against him in his last start. We went and looked at the game logs, and I think we kind of debunked that myth, although I could have sworn that was the case. But nonetheless, he got blitzed again. Here's the thing, like, this is the guy who could outscore the 9,800 guys if he gets it going. He's got to, number one, get it going and be good enough. It's definitely possible, and it's like a price. It's not even the same price range. You know, it's a totally different build. So I'm in there. The issue is for me is that it's. And you tell me about the roof weather. It's gonna be 1,000 degrees there in Arizona.
Yeah.
So that is an issue. But what that means for me is that what I really want to do is play Milwaukee. That's my idea here. My idea is to play Milwaukee against your man Merrill Kelly. How much money have we spent stacking against Merrill Kelly? Like a lot, right? So I'm going to add to that.
In all fairness, it works like 1 out of 6 times, and when it works, it really works. Like
no. And this time we're doing it when there's like 700 other teams that people are playing. You know
yeah, I'm with you here.
So that's what I like. I like Milwaukee. And hey, if you want to have some, it seems kind of hard for me to get there on the Milwaukee stack and also like play Burns in 90-degree weather. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hard. But I definitely think that like that is definitely good theory to play Burns tonight. You know what I mean? Like it's like low own. He definitely has upside. People is all kinds of negative, recency bias and all this stuff. And I seem to recall last night there was a guy that got shelled in his first start, Mr. Haney, who people forgot to play, and he smashed too. You know, so I think that Burns is definitely like the classic pivot that you want to tell. You know, if you're teaching people how to play DFS, this is what you're supposed to do. You know, you play him, and I definitely like Milwaukee on the hitting side.
Yeah, so I couldn't have said it any better myself. Like, I mean, it's pretty much took everything out of my. That's all I got. You know what I mean? Like that's it. You nailed it. I do want to point out.
But are we going to do it? Are we asking you to play them?
Yeah, of course I'm going to have some of it. Like, I just want to point out, like, when people say, "Oh," and you know, we'll get this from Lippy, Eric Johnson, a little bit later. He's going to come in and talk about how much Corbin Burns sucks and how he's the most overrated pitcher in baseball. Again, I don't care if a guy has 2 bad starts. I'm not going to – and he's been doing this before that, to his credit, I guess you want to call it that. Corbin Burns is – let's just go through, like, last year, for example. Corbin Burns led the league led the National League in strikeouts. The only guy with more strikeouts was Garrett Cole. Corbin Burns had the 4th best ERA for qualifying – 5th best ERA for qualifying pitchers. Corbin Burns has, like, go back the year before, wins the Cy Young. This is not a bad pitcher at 8,500 against the Diamondbacks team that everybody is in love with. And I think it's definitely gotten out of control with the love for Arizona, even though I think that I picked them this year to be right around that 500 mark. That was sort of where I thought they'd be. I think they're okay. I just don't think that they're as good as this. I like the idea of taking some Milwaukee. I think that, with that roof open and the Heat, you're going to have some guys who have some chances to hit some out. Yelich, probably more on FanDuel for me, these guys, because they're cheap. Tellez, Winker, and Adames. And then you get Contreras. All of those guys make perfect sense to me. And I have no problem taking shots against Merrill Kelly. So I will add Milwaukee. I just don't know how, like you said, I don't know how much of them I realistically get to with the other stacks as much as I like them. But what I probably should do is put one stack against Jordan Lyles and Merrill Kelly in the same lineup, and then I could at least feel good like I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I agree that this is you want to talk about low owned. I don't think anybody's playing Milwaukee like at all. And I don't know why Arizona's run total is as high as it is. It doesn't matter. As I say with Corbin Burns, one of the great things about him is it doesn't matter how hot it is if you can't hit the ball. Like when he's on, he's really hard to hit, and he's going to strike out he goes through those stretches where he strikes out like 12, 13 guys per 9 innings. If he strikes out 8 guys in 6 innings tonight, that seems very, very possible. Maybe even and probably has even upside on that because he can work deep into games. So I'm definitely open to the Merrill Kelly. I'm sorry, to the Corbin Burns and the Brewers stack. And so if you didn't like any of that, Sheets, why don't you let us know?
Yeah, if you didn't like any of that, I really don't have much for you because I really don't have much in it. I just can't. I don't think I can get to Dustin May at 9,200 in the context of the slate. Listen, you're the Alex Wood whisperer. You could tell me about this, but the Dodgers play a couple of Dodgers stacks. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do it. Listen, whatever. But I do want to make one comment. So I was watching a little bit of baseball last night. It's funny, like when you're actually deep in something, you need to sweat and anti-sweat. Like you watch a little bit more, and you see certain things. I have an announcement to make, and you're going to say, "Duh!" Like welcome to planet Earth, Eric. I've been telling you this for years. You know who's really, really good? I mean, just legit really good? Freaking Arias from the Dodgers.
Yeah, I told you.
He's so good. And you don't know how good these guys are until you actually need someone to get hits off of them. You know what I mean? Like some guy that was chasing me in a couple of these tournaments had Arias, and I'm like, all right, just somebody do something. And nope. It's
never do.
So frustrating.
People act like he has a terrible start when he goes 7 with 2 runs. You know what I mean? He's just really good. Yeah. But also who's really good, and I won't play him today because I just don't think they're going to give him the leash. But I think that by the end of the season, we'll be talking about Dustin May. He'll probably be the most expensive Dodger later in the season. Yeah, and he's got incredible stuff. He probably has the most electric stuff on their team. He's not going to pitch far enough probably for him to be viable. But I mean, honestly, if you think about him versus Lance Lynn, wouldn't we kind of rather play him than you don't have to make that decision? But
yeah, I don't want to play either of them. But
I know, but I'm just saying there are people out in the prop streets who are, and you can't help it. My lucky number, my 222, and he's averaging exactly 22.2 fantasy points per game. So maybe I have to go into a $15 tournament.
Is there a 222 tonight?
There's no, I don't think so. But there's a
22-22. You'd have to play it,
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I actually think that there is a few priority plays I wanted to highlight to go with these. So look, the pitchers for me, I've got 5 guys I'm deciding between. Mostly DeGrom is obviously number 1. I don't know where I'm going to rate the Ohtani, Burns, Lopez, Manoah. I have a feeling
that's the 5.
Yeah, I have a feeling Lopez is going to be one who sneaks in for me. Lopez, not sneaks in, who ends up being in more of them. And then for the other guys, Toronto, I have Toronto, Atlanta, just because the natural power of their offense and the fact that I have some respect for San Diego and the Mets bullpens. But those guys are all very close for me. And then you get Seattle and Chicago, Texas, St. Louis. Those are just a little bit below for me. And St. Louis is not a full stack. It's only a mini for me. And Milwaukee, I probably do at least a mini in one lineup. So I've got a little bit more spread out. I'm going to have to combine these stacks, play more 4-4s and 5-3s today. I do want to say, I know it doesn't matter to other people because I didn't get there. But I was never going to play 5 Texas in my main lineup. Last night I was going to play 5 Seattle, and I couldn't get the numbers right. I said that. But it turns out not getting the numbers right were the reason I ended up cashing. I finished 21st or whatever. I was a few points behind you, but it gave me a chance because my main stack wouldn't have hit. I would have lost money. Instead, I ended up tripling up in that tournament. You know what I'm saying? Just sometimes making a little argument for the 4-4s. Maybe they don't always win all the tournaments because people don't play all the time. But I certainly think that they are viable. And I think some as individual players, Dalton Varsho, Corey Seager, Jesse Winker, all for different reasons, but Price being a part of it for Winker, especially at the top of that Milwaukee lineup. And then other guys who who are projecting well from a point per dollar standpoint today, I don't really know how I really am going to like any of them. I guess Rosario in your Atlanta stacks and Brandon Belt in your it's just hard to play Brandon Belt. I guess maybe the smart thing is to play Belt in a lineup where you play Vlad also on FanDuel, because playing Brandon Belt he's so cheap, but at the same time it means you're not playing Vlad, and that's just a tough story to handle when you want to stack up Toronto on this kind of lots of offense slate. So that's sort of my highlight sheets. Anything for you that you want to add before we?
Yeah, again, I'm those 5 pitchers I think you mentioned, the DeGrom, Ohtani, Burns, the uber pivot, and then you have Lopez and Manoah. I don't think I can get to Gray on the slate. You know what I mean? Like and all these other pitchers. I mean, I think I need a differential. I think I need more hitting than more pitching. You know, because I don't really have a big take on any hitting. So as far as the hitting goes, the Cubs game, I probably will do something there. Toronto, Milwaukee, Atlanta. I'll stick with those, and if I have to play one San Diego or Mets, I'll do that. I'll listen. I'm going to let St. Louis. Here's the problem. I'm going to have to let St. Louis beat me. The reason why is because I just have no pitchers like that can differentiate myself. The only thing I would do, like you said, is I'll play St. Louis with like a Burns line. That's probably about it.
Yeah, the most you could go is maybe Burns and like Josiah Gray would be the weird one.
Maybe
something like that, because he does have like 25 upside. Like he can get there because he's got good stuff. Just going to take a lot.
I mean, I guess I can get away with Burns Ohtani, I suppose. But even that, I mean,
that'll be owned enough probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I hear you. But that's okay though. I mean, oh, and look, the White Sox just put now Lopez is going to be the most popular pitcher other than DeGrom.
Oh, who the White Sox put out there?
Tim Anderson is out for 10 days. So
yeah,
and to an already weak lineup. I mean, he's there. He's like one of the best guys in baseball. So that's a big deal for them. So Lopez and DeGrom are clearly the 1 and 2 in my opinion. And I think that if you can fit Ohtani and DeGrom or Burns and DeGrom, I think you're totally fine with doing that.
Just one more time. So Atlanta, something from the Cubs game. I don't know which side. Texas, Milwaukee. I guess those are my favorites.
Yeah, we're sort of in similar ranges. I think that those Texas, Toronto, Atlanta rate a little bit higher for me than the San Diego, New York, Seattle, Chicago. But I don't like the other ones. And if the ownership goes one way today, I might jump over.
And by the way, I would like to make an announcement that all the lineups that I did well with yesterday in baseball, all of them completely hand built during the live stream.
How about that? Let's go.
Yep.
All right. Good luck to everybody. Make sure to tune in live tonight. I'll be live at 6 Eastern. Yep. Chiefs unfortunately won't be here to share his thoughts of wisdom and build all the winning lineups at the same time.
Dude, you just listen. You just gave the answer.
What?
You put it out in the universe. Who's going to win the slate?
Who?
Sheets is going to not be able to share his wisdom. It's going to be you getting your Patrick Wisdom money back from last.
Oh, Patrick Wisdom on revenge. All right, there you go.
Yeah,
I love it.
That'll do it.
All right. We love to play on words. All right. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you.